Okay, first we'll start with reviewing bids for a trailer and a tractor.
One more.
Oh, one more. What's that? I'm sorry. Yeah.
That's all right.
Y'all should have the quotes for all three quotes on the two, on the mower.
What size trailer is it? What size bed is on that trailer?
It's a 16-foot tandem axle. We had to go that large just because of the weight of the forklift and the paper that we haul from Woodfield to Trailside always. And then also the vertilifts that we use for jamming lights in all the different buildings. So we have to go that size, and it's a tilt bed trailer.
Okay. Is it torsion axle or leaf spring?
Portion.
Because I ended up buying an enclosed brace trailer, and all of a sudden, the one I got didn't come with it, it came with leaf springs, but it was the price, so,
Yeah,
okay.
that's tandem axle. It's all aluminum. So, and then we also, if we get back in further where we talk about the bleachers, that would also give us, that trailer would give us the capability of moving bleachers if you so choose to buy bleachers from site to site. If there's something going on, portable bleachers, something going on in one of the other buildings or outside.
What do we use now?
We've got when we bought this Vertilift, the trailer we got with it was used then, and we're right at the edge of the weight limit on it when we haul the forklift or the skylift. And we've had to re-weld it a couple of different places, a couple of different times.
You say it's a steel trailer too.
It's a steel trailer, right? It's a single axle, and we replaced the wood bed on it once already.
Okay.
So it's I think
This
it was,
comes with electric brakes, I take it?
no, it does not.
Really?
No.
Okay.
So it's got 9,600 pound weight capacity.
Okay, now Tom, what do you think? Looks like Fagan is the cheapest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I make a motion to go with Fagan then for the aluminum trailer.
A second.
Now that too, Fagan was the only one that wouldn't take a trade-in just based on his price. So, but we'll still have the capability of selling that trailer outright. Put it out for
Which
sale.
I'm sure you're gonna be able to sell to like landscaping.
Yeah, right.
Okay, John Deere lawnmower, you wanna go over that a little bit?
Okay, that's the big flexible mower that we use for mowing all the big ground on all the sites. That mower is 12 years old, and it's at the first 4 or 5 years of its life really took abuse because of the new landscaping and the roughness and all the rocks that were popping up out of the ground every spring. So it's the decks themselves, one of them has been re-welded in a couple spots where the gear case had broke loose from getting hit. So it's more of a safety issue that we replace it than anything right now. It's just, every time we go to use it, we've got to check everything over and make sure something else didn't crack the last time we used it. Plus the amount of traveling that we do between Woodfield and Trailside with it takes a toll on our smooth roads here and everything.
So it's basically just gonna be the mower deck itself that we're gonna be replacing.
Pardon me?
It'll be just the mower deck itself?
Just the mower deck itself, right. And the price there, again, we're not sure what the trade-in is going to be, but the two dealers, well, all three dealers said they would give us something on a trade-in, but they just never came to look at it just because of the time of the season, and we weren't sure what we were going to do with it. But as you can see, both prices were identical right down to the penny, except for proven power, which was somewhat higher.
What's your preference on it, Tom? We've done quite a bit of business already with Highway C.
That's everything we've bought in tractor-wise and mower-wise has been from Highway C. No one has ever been able to beat their prices. In fact, this is the first, Salem was the first one that ever came close to or even matched them. So. I know the Highway C bid is a little confusing when you look at it.
Yeah, that's why I asked you before we started. Excuse me, here, explain it a little bit more.
Just for expediency, pulled up one they had sold to
I make a motion then that we would go with the Highway C services for bid. What's your opinion on that, Tom?
You look confused.
No, I was double checking everything too, because I was looking at the multiple on the.
Yeah, that's what's got me at
Highway C,
first. I looked at that
make
the other
sure
night, and
it's-
I'm like,
No, it's the 15,569.01
Okay.
is the number.
which is actually identical to the other,
Right.
that
Just,
mid-state.
yeah, for mid-state.
Yeah, maybe if you feel it's a safety issue and we're to the point where
Yeah.
we need to replace. Do you have a ballpark what you think we would get, or they would
They
get
thought
for
probably
that?
somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000.
Okay.
They couldn't say for sure without seeing it.
Okay, yeah, that I would second. Over.
Is that on?
I got a question, just on
Yes,
those things.
sure.
Yeah.
Not necessarily for you, Ken, but for you, Chris. Is there any way we can portion some of this off onto the rec department? Being that we're doing the field more often because we're doing for the rec department. So we'll look into it, let me know.
Yeah.
I mean, if we can, we might as well bring that number down.
Good question, I don't.
Especially at the trail, I don't know if we're trail hogging the trailer in the future, that would be, I mean, bleachers obviously would be.
Yeah, I mean, that remains to be seen, you know.
But
go
even if we
with
get some
those.
portion out of the rec department's budget, that would be the better way to do it.
Next, we have the booster water heater for the dishwasher at Trailside.
Yeah, that had just come up just a short time ago. We've been having trouble with the one, all four schools have the same booster heater in them, and what that booster heater does, it produces 180-degree plus water for sanitizing the food trays. That's all it's used for. I mean, it doesn't produce hot water for anything else. It's connected directly to each dishwasher on the rinse cycle. The one out at Trailside, for whatever reason, because all four buildings have like the identical heater in them, that one has been giving us nothing but grief for the end of last school year, and now since the beginning of this school year. I mean, every other day we're out there either trying to restart it, or AccuTemp has been in a couple different times to replace control boards in it, igniters, and one thing or another, and it's just gotten to the point where there's got to be something going on internally that it keeps kicking the thing out.
You know, I wrote a note in here, how many water heaters have you gone through at Trailside already too, compared to the other buildings? There's
That's
something going on
another
there that I know
point,
what it is.
what it is out there. I mean,
They're
it's
all hooked up
the
to
same
village
water,
water.
right, it's the same water throughout, but what the reasoning is out there, yeah, we've gone through
Two
two
heaters
domestic hot water heaters.
compared
and
to
now
the other
this-
building, which has gone through none yet.
None, right. Which is
Because I know that was before
odd.
Tom was
And
on.
we've had the water sampled, and the water meets all the criteria it's supposed to meet, hardness, all the chemicals, it's one of those, it's a weird thing out there, right? But it's gotten to the point now where food service had a couple of times used foam trays, disposable trays, because they couldn't use a dishwasher because the rinse cycle wasn't working or sanitizing the trays.
So we had a price of $6,500 from AccuTemp.
Right.
The second proposal was for $78.98,
Yeah.
and the last one I think was for over $10,000,
Right.
$10,008.
Those were the three quotes, right? Lee Plumbing is the one that does most of our plumbing work.
I know that.
So they were, AccuTemp came in, I think, lower because they really gave us a break on the labor because of the contract we had with them. It's not covered under the contract, but they still gave us a break on the labor because of the contract.
So move we go with AccuTemp. Tom, anything?
And they've pretty much exhausted their expertise in trying to figure out.
Yeah, they've even been on a helpline with Voyager, who is the manufacturer, and I mean, based on the incidences that have happened, they had no real good idea. In fact, they even sent them another board free of charge to try, and that didn't rectify the problem. What happens is the air codes that come in, when it says igniter, it's not necessarily the igniter, maybe it's the overflow switch or something. So there's something going on internally that isn't giving getting the right signal to the board to make it do what it's supposed to do. And sometimes it just plain doesn't run.
And that building is about 12 years old now?
Pardon me?
How old is the building now?
12.
Is the overall condition of it similar to the other buildings, other than what's?
The only thing we've noticed, and they're all wrapped in like a plastic insulation, That one out there for some reason has a crack in it. And we don't know if something expanded at one time within the tank that broke the outer insulation on it, and that's what's been causing the problems. You know, without tearing the whole, you can't tear the whole thing apart, but it's just a big solid tank. So we really don't know, and then the control unit that's on the front of it, I mean, they've replaced every replaceable part in that control unit at one time or another.
That's second.
Turn that off the board.
I think
Next, we have plumbing bids, we have,
I think maybe there's an issue on that in the building grounds or something, meaning electrically, I mean, if you're shorting out this thing, it's got a ground fault or something, and same with the other two.
well, the other two, we didn't take out the controls, we took out the heaters themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah,
The
but
controls, they actually saved the one time for the other one, until the other one took a dive. Is that one out
the
there?
only reason I'm saying that is if you start getting corrosion ground on the plumbing or something, may have the possibility of
That's a
creating a loop on there and screwing up the regular heaters, in addition to the ground looping on that electric. Hard to find, but
right.
usually the only thing that happens.
Well, I can have
As
to
that
check and
happens,
see, I mean,
automated
go from there,
Yeah.
see what they know, you know, if they've looked into that. I mean, I'm not there every time that they're working on it.
No, I'm just
Right.
thinking if that building's failed on 2 or 3 things, the
Right.
other one hasn't.
Right.
Is that something where you pull in an electrician and
Yeah.
take a harder look at the?
Yeah, you can look at the ground.
See, the other-
Wouldn't that show up elsewhere though, I mean, with other electrical devices?
The tanks were going out before, the controls didn't go out on the two other, the main heaters.
Yeah, the problem is though, you're strapped to the earth ground and the
Yes.
plumbing pipe itself. So that's where the plumbing would be affected sooner than the others. So maybe something would have to be checked.
Good idea, Dan, thank you. Okay, snow plowing bids, we got two, one from TNT Tree Service, which I believe is the one we have now.
Yes, have for the last 3 years.
$135 for the lots, and I see the other one didn't have it, but on this one it also has $115 to fill up your truck with salt.
Yes, yeah, that's the same one we got, I purchased salt from TNT last year also.
Compared to when you used to go to Milwaukee and get it.
Right. This year their price went up just because the cost of salt has gone up across the nation.
The other one is H&S Tree Service,
Right,
and they had a bid of $150 per lot,
right.
and nothing about filling your truck with salt.
They didn't have that capability.
Okay. You have any questions on that, on these, Tom?
No, this one seems pretty straightforward.
Make a motion to go with TNT again then?
Second.
Volleyball court.
I know that had been brought up before, and it just, you know, trying to get some direction. I mean, are we going to do anything with it? I mean, I know we won't do anything else with it this year.
No.
I know, I guess, one of the last meetings, there were some questions about the sand getting
Yes.
tracked into the buildings and so on and so forth, and on the back of your, sort of a real rough layout of that whole area, and there is a 20-foot buffer between it and the there would be a 20-foot buffer of grass between it and the new basketball court, and then also about a 26-foot buffer between the north end of the court and the blacktop pathway that everyone uses to travel between Fox River and Evergreen. As far as gym classes using it, I mean, they have a multitude of grass they're gonna walk, or, you know, great area of grass they're gonna walk through before they get to the building. They don't think the sand issue would be any more of an issue than we have now when the kids go out in damp or wet weather and then in the field and then come in with mud and grass and so on and so forth on their feet. So I don't see it as a big problem that way.
Do we go with something like this, can the record department be a part of it, would they probably be using it?
Yes, yes, programs, but it is,
Well, my question is who would be using it when we were on purpose, meaning currently with the volleyball, we're not doing sand volleyball as in a rear. We're doing indoor, right?
so it would be more of a community rec ed type.
So again, why would we put in the sand volleyball court if we don't really use sand volleyball?
That's what I said, it would be more for the rec program.
Well, what I'm thinking is why would you put in a rubberized surface volleyball court? Make it more usable and outdoor area for the students in the school. Something similar to the track or something, you know?
Right, well, I guess, I mean, for no other reason than the cost. I'm sure
Yeah.
there's a greater, more substantial cost in putting something like that
Yeah,
in.
I'm sure there is.
And then the maintenance of it, I mean, I don't understand, I mean, why the high school tore out that track that they put in just a few years ago.
Had issues with the design of the product that was put down and the
Oh,
color.
okay. Yeah, it just seemed
Where I
weird.
had the same questions. So,
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could, like I said, no other reason though than to do a cost of, you know, I can investigate a cost on it to see what it would cost.
I would maybe like to refer to the rec committee, see what, because I would think they would be the ones using a lot more than the school district itself would for school classroom time.
I agree. I also would like to hear Mrs. Markle's input on,
That's, yes.
because if anybody's gonna use it, it's gonna be majority of the middle school
Right.
kids, because they'll be a little bit,
Okay.
maybe you can see the fifth and sixth grade.
Yeah.
And the younger kids using it too, but extensively.
And like I said, and I can see using it during the summer for the rec programs.
Yeah, and I don't know that we want to get in a position where we're only building things for the rec department program on the property.
Of course, we got the land there that we got tore up right now anyway.
Yeah.
It's a pole sitting there. with some-
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So,
Do we have any idea of ongoing maintenance? I mean, once you obviously put in the sand, how often, every couple of years?
I'm sure that would be determined by how much it's really used, you know, who uses it,
I
you
don't
know,
know
that
what
type
kind
of
of toll
thing.
winter took on, that
Yeah,
type
but
of thing.
well, I don't see winter being a real big issue with it. It's just more how it's used, who uses it,
So we,
how many people come and steal it to use on their winter, you know, their icy winter driveway or something. You know, other than that, I know it's kind of hard to say now
Okay.
what a maintenance would be on it.
All right, then yeah, I would say let's send it over to Rack and go from there.
I'd be curious what the cost would be with a different surface.
Pardon me?
I'd be curious what the cost would be with a different surface.
Sure, yeah. I think it'd be pricey, but yeah, we can see,
Yeah.
like I said, see if the rec program would want
Sure.
sand rather than the other
Right.
surface too. Alrighty, next on here is an update on pricing for the Chorus sound system. I didn't see anything in the packets about the sound system.
Well, I just asked about it because some time ago it was brought up and there was talk about it, and I know there were some questions that some of the board members had. I guess I was just trying to find out, you know, is this
I think
something?
Dan had brought something up. One was wireless mics.
Right.
What else was
no, I
there?
don't think there's any questions anymore. I talked over it with Mr. Mahan, and there's no issue on it, so whatever was being purchased.
Oh, okay, and I guess that's what I was
Okay, no,
looking for.
Okay.
Right?
I
There you go.
knew there were some questions that had
Thank
been
you, sir.
asked and answered.
Well, I mean, they come down to, I don't want to go cheap on it.
But no,
I want to make sure we got what we've got, and it's going to work good for a couple decades,
and
right?
I believe, you know, go ahead, Derek.
I was gonna ask if he could give you some feedback before you buy one. That's what I.
Yeah, Dan's question was, are we getting the right thing? Are we getting the most
Yeah.
cost-effective thing? He had asked, well, shouldn't we be going wireless? I said, as far as cost effectiveness and what you're gonna get out of the product, actually having a wired something will be more cost effective. You're gonna get the same product. I suggested going with a digital board because you can actually store it in its memory. Once you set up at one school once, say for instance you have an elementary school concert here at Evergreen, you set it up, you save the settings, next time you set it up the same way, push the button, brings up the settings, you're ready to go. It saves it for each venue. You can adjust it that way. And so the only other thing that I'm not sure if it was in there, and I said there's a sound technician who lives in Waterford. His name is Eric Carlson. Suggest just paying him for the half an hour to an hour of his time at each venue once you first set up, because he'll come in, he'll make sure that it's set, that it'll sound its best. He does the same thing for me for my concerts and for graduation. Comes in, I pay him for his time, and then it's set, it's ready to go. So that's the only thing. But as far as the equipment itself, I think you're getting the best bang for your buck. You're getting the most use out of it without having to spend more.
Thank you for the input.
Sure. Did you need a motion on that then?
Just one other thing. Since we looked at this and since we came up with these numbers, they now have a case available that the soundboard itself would go into, and that's about $500. Right.
Yeah, especially with transport.
For transporting it, yeah. Transport between four schools.
I don't remember it though.
Do we currently have cases for all the other mics?
Back before I can get back.
Yes.
Okay.
5847. Okay, we make a motion.
5847, yeah, then plus the 500.
Plus the thing is for another 400, so it'd be another 500.
About 6350.
Make a motion that we go with the bid on the sound system for 6,500 or less. How would that be?
Second.
Ken, is there any possibility you can get that before next month's concerts or not?
I don't know, Derek, do you know what is
Yeah.
it possible?
Honestly, if you wanted to order it tomorrow, they'd probably have to within a week.
That's great.
Request?
I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yes, please.
Thank you very much for volunteering your time to help.
Sure.
Do you need to have that proposal now for Eric's time to come and set this up?
Oh, good point.
Yeah, let's go, let's go. You wanna make a motion on that then?
What do you think cost wise?
I shoot him a message, and asked him, but I'd say it's probably like $50 for an hour.
Okay. So
So
you
you
can
need that for a motion?
Anything about an hour per school or half an hour?
Half an hour to an hour for each school. Honestly, once it's set up, then he comes in
Oh,
and
yeah.
makes the settings.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't even think we need a motion then for that kind of.
Okay.
Is the committee okay if we move ahead on that before the formal approval, just so we can get it in place for?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next update on bleachers for the community programming and rec department, if you wanna go over that a little bit.
Yeah, the original quote that we received was $35.96 for 2 sections of 15-foot long, 4-foot row portable bleachers. Again, because it sort of fell to the wayside or whatever, I did find another place, it's called Gerber Leisure Time Products out of Mount Horeb. They can get us basically the same bleacher, 15-foot, 4-row, for about $820 a section. The only difference is we have to assemble them, and I'm like, I have no problem with assembling them. For that, I mean, we could buy 4 sections for the same price that the other place, Goodson, was gonna charge us.
About calling a Boy Scout, seeing if anybody wants to do a Eagle badge or something on assembly bleachers.
As far as assembling them?
Yeah.
Well, that would be fine too. I mean, I don't know how we get into that though, as far as liability insurance wise, with the metal and someone getting hurt. I mean, I know that's always an issue.
It's irrelevant, no matter who assembles it, it's on our property, so.
But we're covered through the,
Well, I'm fine with that, as long as someone from your department just double checks that it's.
Yeah.
okay,
We got all those picnic table things that were assembled, right?
right, well, but they didn't assemble them here.
Well, I'll just say
They
the game
don't
after.
Yeah, so up with the high
Built
school.
them at home.
I have full faith that they'll figure it out.
So,
Remind me again what the bleachers
Yeah,
are
let's
for?
go over that.
Thank you.
what the bleachers are for, I mean, there's so much activity goes out on these fields now, and the parents have no place to sit out of the way, that we could set these up that they're, just like the high school, only they would be portable. I mean, they use them for the soccer games, different, whatever activities are out there. Again, I guess as you always talk about throwing stuff back at the rec department, is there some way you could,
This has got to be at least 50% of our department.
I would say more than that, because the only time when I can see us using them is for the, like Christmas plays and that.
Track and field.
Well, I think, just to back up to when we first had this conversation about the bleachers, there were some concerns. I had some, just thinking, okay, how many bleachers do we actually need to accommodate the number of people that are at these soccer games?
I think that one of us brought up, well, hey, if we could find some that collapsed or, could be conveniently stored somewhere that might help make this have a little more sense. I think the question still exists is how many bleachers would we need for those different events for it to make sense. I think good job on finding it for that much cheaper because
Where would you store them?
that'd be a big question. Where would
we'd
store
probably store them over on the blacktop area between the Fox River Gym and the garage in the wintertime. I mean, we set trailers there now, but I mean, that can all be rearranged, but they could be out of the way then in a secure area.
them? How much do they weigh? Is it anywhere out there?
Yeah, I didn't get any particulars. Let's see if I think there's something on.
'Cause I know they're on wheels, which is
Yeah.
great if you're wheeling them down a hallway, but I'm just trying to think of who's gonna be the ones carrying these up the hill back there to put them in place for, a soccer game or
Well, there are
things
really
like
no
that.
hills that they have to, we just roll them up
Drive.
from the
Drive.
drive,
I almost could put it.
Yeah, or they're on the
because
trailer
you're gonna hitch
already.
onto the tractor.
I guess I'm just thinking about the, Saturday morning, 8 o'clock soccer game. Who's
Well-
gonna be the one putting
I think as far as the soccer is concerned, they'd be out there for the season.
Oh, you just leave them out there?
Right, I mean, we'd move them, you know,
Okay,
back and forth a little bit to cut around them and that type of thing, but I mean, yeah, they would,
Okay.
they'd go out there the 1st of September and stay out there till the 31st of October.
okay, I guess in my mind I was envisioning,
No,
Take
they
it
would
with
stay
an
out there for the duration of whatever they're being used
okay, all
for.
right.
We've
Do you
been
remember how many soccer fields we have out there? Four?
We had 6 of them this year, I think,
Oh, yeah, there's the,
yeah.
The ones that are
just thinking
sideways
about the
too.
ones I use, there's the 4 little ones,
Right.
there's the bigger ones, all a little further.
2 big ones and 4 little ones, yeah, so there's 6 fields.
You've been to RYSA, ever seen, for football?
No, no, there, we went out of that before I started.
They have like one section on some fields. Some fields they don't. They just
Yeah.
pick the section, put it there, but you don't know who's gonna use it until you put it there.
Right,
So you put one section there, if all of a sudden you find everybody using it, you know, they
just
have
on
it in the future.
one side.
Yeah, but I had this vision, your new trailer, you're just gonna take your truck, you're gonna drive right up there.
Right.
Put it on or put it off, you're not gonna haul it on the wheels, because you rip up the
Oh,
wheels and grass.
yeah, I mean, leaving them out there changes
Right.
my thoughts on it for sure.
Then when you need them in a building or something, is there something we can use over at Trailside or Woodfield or no?
Not sure. Can they make it, I was gonna ask, can they make it into doors?
So you take a little piece of carpeting and you throw it on the floor.
Well, the thing is, the back doors, one set of the back doors have a removable mullion that we can get them,
Get it through.
yeah, because they're 48, 54, 55 inches wide, front to back, so we could get them
You bring
through.
them in late fall, you store them indoors, and you put them on the trailer, you take them over, throw a
Right.
piece of carpeting down the floor, so you don't rip it off, roll them through it.
The only thing is, I don't think there is enough room on the sidelines. That's why bleachers were never put in.
There is a, it would just be, you could just use it for the concerts,
Right.
Yeah, which is good.
because that was the complaint last year when I was at Trailside, is that, you know, they were looking for some concert areas that we would have
Right.
beaches.
I think we should, if we could get 6 of these, is what I would be thinking.
For that
Thinking about
price.
soccer, at that price, I think I would suggest the center back to rec and look at it. I think that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, and I think the majority should get Rex.
Yeah,
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I would say probably 90% of it.
I agree.
But my only question would be, this says 15 foot on here, you said a 16-foot trailer. You're only sparing half a foot on each side, are you sure
No,
that's
16-foot length.
Okay, is that full span 16?
Yeah.
That's the
So
bed
what's
itself.
interior?
That's the bed itself.
Okay, so the bed physically is
Right.
16.
Yeah, and then you bet the top.
So the trailer is probably a good 20 or something.
And the wheels on it, just as a foot on that.
Yeah, well, I'd be careful on that, because now if they're up on wheels, it can be even harder to do anything.
Well, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
not that far from school to school, we
Yeah.
can only take 1 or 2 sections at a time.
Sure.
I mean, it's not a,
And if they're gonna sit there, then it's not.
right,
Well, that's what I'm thinking, you take this one, lay it flat on the flats, and you throw the other one on top of it.
sure.
That way things aren't rolling
Yeah,
around.
yeah.
Okay, great.
So move it back to the rec committee then. Since Mrs. Marco's here, maybe we can get her input about a sand volleyball court. And she didn't think I'd get after her right away, huh?
We had discussed putting in a sand volleyball court, kind of thinking, well, obviously a lot of it would be used by the rec department. But as far as looking at it from a gym class, probably predominantly middle school would utilize that versus the
And
younger
Dan
kids.
had thought possibly putting a surface in rather than having the
Something
sand.
other than sand.
But
We don't
in-
offer sand volleyball anywhere.
But in general, your thoughts on, you know, if you thought the gym classes would utilize something like that?
My guess at this point, I probably want to talk to the FIAD teachers.
Okay.
I wouldn't anticipate that the sand volleyball court would be used extensively. I probably do have a little concern about the sand going on the basketball court.
There's a 20-foot grass buffer between there would be a 20-foot grass
Okay.
buffer between the basketball court and the
Okay.
volleyball court.
You have that picture, you could just show her the sketch. Or, you have that sketch, all right.
It's on the back of your.
I got mine, I mean, just to show her.
I saw this weekend.
Okay, great.
In reality, probably we make more use of more basketball courts because the one basketball court limits the number of kids that can go down there during lunch hour. We're probably not going to play volleyball during lunch hour. Number one, because of the sand and the limited time, I don't want the sand to be brought in the building. There would be some small concerns about FIAD with the sand in the shoes and having to make sure we get the sand out of the shoes before we come traipsing into the gym and so forth. but I'm sure I can work that out with my Phi Ed teachers. We have to be thinking about, because you can only put, 14 kids or whatever on the volleyball court, what the rest of the Phi Ed class is going to be doing. So I'm not sure about the amount of usage that the sand volleyball court would get out of Phi Ed at this point. But that's just walk in at 6:31 with 42 seconds response.
I still think that we just refer to the rec committee and see what they want to do with. Maybe we'll end up putting more basketball courts back in.
Where do we end up with the pictures? Are we moving ahead with this?
They were gonna go to rec, so they'll probably have to pay for most of it. Where's that?
Is there a need for it?
Right here.
Yeah. I mean, that's,
I don't.
You're the chair of the committee.
I understand,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
just tell me what the proper procedure is then. If we can just do it.
Well,
right now,
I don't
that's
know that we
fine.
need to bounce it
Yeah.
back and forth
Okay.
between committees because there seems consensus to do it. It's like we talked about it over years.
I would agree. But you're thinking 6 sections?
I was gonna say,
I'm thinking if we're
a
gonna
motion
do
for
it-
6 sections, then Bill part of it to the rec committee, how's that?
I don't
So
remember
then,
which ones that were.
so then should I make a motion as the rec committee right now? And,
Okay, there we go.
okay, good. Now,
No, no problem.
do I make the motion as the rec committee right now?
No, no.
We make it as
The
a-
rec committee meeting wasn't posted, So it's, I just didn't see a need to send it to the committee since we've talked about it so much. That's all.
Okay, so then do we make a motion on the grounds?
Yep, also move that we get 6 sections of the bleachers, and then they can figure out which department gets billed for.
Who's gonna pay for it?
Okay.
Second.
Yeah, because the big thing will there will be for passage is that rec department's paying that, a majority of that, because if they're using it for all the soccer and everything,
Right.
majority of the time, we've had very few concerts. So there should be really no reason the school's picking up majority of that.
And the price would be $8.20 per section?
Yes.
Okay, add that to the motion.
What you're gonna have to do then, when you actually vote on it at board meeting, is make a statement saying that so the main purpose is going to be like we did with the last purchase.
It'll be
It's
for the soccer.
the rec department, you have to make that very clear.
Okay.
All right. Next, discussion on resurfacing the Evergreen receiving area. I understand I got a little problem there.
That's something, I just wanted to bring up to the board now. Within the last week or two, we noticed a small corner of one of the concrete slabs in the receiving area disappeared, fell into a hole in the ground. So it seems like we're getting some kind of undermining or whatever underneath the concrete. We did some testing. We really don't find any big areas right now. So I just wanted to alert the board to that I'm gonna have to start looking at getting someone in, probably in spring, to tear at least that one section out to see what's happening.
How far away from that freezer is that?
Oh, quite a ways.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nothing to do with it?
nothing to do with the freezer, no, none whatsoever.
Do you know if it's a runoff issue or something?
My guess is that it might be a backfilling issue from years ago when they trenched across underneath the drive and then up along the Fox River walkway here. That's just ahead of where that area is, but I really can't tell at this point. But like I said, I just wanted to bring it to your attention that we'll have to do something, look at something in spring.
Okay, thank you. Next, which is not on here, would be the doors. You had an estimate on doors?
There again, that was something that just came up, the food server, not the food service, the cleaning lady called us last week and said, I have a problem. Went over there in one of the center mullions, if you can picture the cafeteria at Fox River, it has 2 sets of doors on the west wall and then a set of doors on the south wall.
Who's Pleasant?
Yeah, that was Cam.
Thanks.
One of the west doors, the center mullion had actually rusted off so bad on the bottom that it broke out. So we were able to secure it enough. I mean, it was a removable mullion, and the aluminum casting that it sits on is basically what deteriorated. But then in looking further, the bottom of the mullion itself is almost rusted to the point where there's nothing left of it. It's still solid on the outside, but there's no strength left to it. And then looking at all the other doors, it's the same scenario. Plus the support ends of the jambs are starting to rust away. So those are the original jambs in that building. We replaced doors on them a number of years ago.
Yes.
With the Stylite doors, the fiberglass doors, so they're fine, they're definitely reusable. But it is the jamb work that has to be replaced.
And that's an estimate of 5686.39.
And that's for all 3 sets. That's installed.
That's what the vendor that put the doors in.
Right.
And a long-standing vendor with us.
Yeah, of course, right. I know they just replaced a bunch of them up at the high school last year. On the south end of the gym, they replaced all the jambs on that end.
Any questions, Tom, or comments on it?
No.
And we have the money in the budget for that. Also moved in that we go with the force to replace the door frames at Fox Superintendent. 3 sets
3 sets, correct?
for a total of 5686 and 39 cents.
Second.
And I believe last is a proposal for light fixtures.
On the door jams, we'll probably let the company know now, so they can do it over the holidays. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
So I just wanted to portion that.
Especially for security
Yeah,
also.
that way I can close the cafeteria off over Christmas, and they, they take the doors out, the cold weather isn't gonna bother anything, so we should be in good shape. About a 6-week lead time on getting the jams.
No,
So
it was right around
we'll be
Christmas
right-
time, yeah.
We'll be right in there, right in that time frame. Getting back to the lighting now, like Doug started talking about, this quote that I got from Peck and Weiss is to do a complete change out from T12s, which are no longer being made, to T8 fluorescent lamps. Since I got this quote, Orion Electric, which is the same company we purchased the new gym lights from a
Yes.
few years back, they now have come out with a direct retrofit LED for, they're called troffers, these 2-foot by 4-foot lights. The salesman was in last week with just some literature for me. It takes about 2.5 to 3 minutes to change out from a fluorescent to a LED fixture, and they have the patent on this fixture.
Smart?
Smart people.
So they put me in touch with one of, they can't sell, I don't know why, but they can't sell directly to us. We
They're
have to go through a
manufactured, yes.
distributor.
Yes.
So they have put me in touch with a distributor who I have a meeting with next week, Thursday. It's going to come out, I've got all the numbers of the fixtures, how many we have, so on and so forth. Then he'll be able to put together a proposal for doing a direct replacement LED on all the light fixtures in this building. So, I mean, just
And
one,
all the fluorescent tube light fixtures.
all the fluorescent tube
Like
lights.
these up here, are these sodium vapor or
Yes.
something? Isn't there a new LED version coming out for those yet?
Right, and I'm gonna talk with this guy when he comes in next week,
Yeah,
what he has available.
because that's where the savings is these right here.
Right. But just to kind of give you an idea where we're at with this, I mean, what we've been doing is, as one burns out now, we replace it with T8s, ballast and T8s. But just wanted to look at the LED because of the maintenance factor in it. I know the cost is gonna be somewhat more, but these LEDs have, I believe he said, 475,000 hours, light hours. So,
And they use like less electricity also.
Power too.
a lot, yeah, a lot less.
Should be a
I'm
savings
just not,
there.
I'm just not sure how the actual light is going to affect,
Yeah.
the classrooms.
Okay.
What I'm gonna try to get him to do is to retrofit the district conference room
See what it's like.
and see what it looks like.
I like that idea.
See if they'll go for it, or even if we gotta pay, pay to have that one done, just to get a good feel. I don't think one fixture gives you a true sense of what it's gonna look like when you've got 20 or 30 fixtures in a room.
Or maybe even get them to do a classroom to really see how.
Well, the only problem with the classroom is there's gonna be some electrical work involved because of the way the troffers are wired and switched. We can either turn on the 2 outside lamps in all the fixtures, or we can turn on just the inner lamp in all the fixtures, or all of them. But with these LEDs, they're gonna have to figure out some way of switching that to where they can have it all at one time or with a dimmer.
Okay.
So that's what they have to look at, that's where some additional cost could come in.
Important thing there is going to be the light wavelength itself, being the kelvins on it. So it's gonna be whether it's like a daylight or
Right.
soft white, be real careful on that, because the daylight.
That's what I said, I'd like to see
Yeah, it's horrendous.
what it's gonna look like in a room, you know?
Yeah.
So,
So we'll just table that for now then?
yeah, I just wanted to keep you abreast as to what I'm doing.
You have anything else for,
Nope, I think that's enough for one night.
motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay.